In mid-November, UNL's Ag Econ department will host its yearly series of Cornhusker Economics Outlook meetings. Over the next month, we'll take a look at important sections from those discussions, including crop and livestock price levels, tax information, and farm bill decisions. UNL Extension Public Policy Specialist Brad Lubben joined us earlier this week to talk about current policy issues, including EPA news on the Renewable Fuels Standard and waters of the U.S., as well as a ruling from the World Trade Organization on country of origin labeling. But to start, we began by discussing decisions farmers will need to make under the new Farm Bill.
We're actually into the implementation phase. The sign-up process has begun. Producers can already talk about updating yields if they have the evidence to prove it. They can also talk about the potential to update base acreage from their existing base to a new mix based on their recent planted acreage. We're also just about ready to open up the official sign-up election procedure for the ARC versus PLC, that revenue versus price safety net choice that producers have.
I want to talk about how difficult that decision is, because it's not just the price this year, which some people might look at, but it's also the price for the next 5 years.
That's right. Those two programs work very differently. PLC is sort of an easier one to explain in the sense that there's a set price. Think of corn, think of $3.70 a bushel as the reference price. Soybeans is $8.40 a bushel. That's where the protection starts. And if prices fall below, which in the case of corn, we've already seen evidence or expectations this year of it falling below that, then you see price protection. And you see that for as long as prices stay below. The ARC program is a revenue safety net. Much like ACRE was in the last Farm Bill, we now have ARC. That revenue safety net's a moving average, which means it starts higher because we've come off of 5 fairly strong years, but it also moves over time. So it might start with higher protection of revenue risk, but it will move over time, and if prices move lower, eventually that average moves lower, eventually the guarantee moves lower. So you've got trade-offs. Price protection that's fixed but lower, revenue protection that starts higher but could move.
Complex decisions, what tools are available to help producers make them?
Well, clearly it's a complicated decision. It's not as easy as plugging in this year's prices and yields and coming up with an answer, because it's 5 years of outlook. You have to know something, or at least have some expectations about yields and prices for the next 5 years. We have some great decision tools that were developed nationally as part of a collaboration with FSA. And those tools give you an analysis of farm program decisions and options over that entire 5-year period.
Now, aside from the Farm Bill things, there are other things going on that could have more an effect on farmers near term. One is EPA making decisions both on Renewable Fuels Standard and waters of the U.S. Tell me where they stand.
Right. Well, interestingly enough, those decisions are both still pending at the moment. The comment period was extended again for a bit on the waters of the U.S. rule, which means that EPA is still accepting comments until sometime in November. They're then faced with how many weeks or months of making the final rule and announcing that rule. Similarly, the Renewable Fuel Standard, EPA has said don't expect a decision until sometime in November. That's the decision on how much we're supposed to use in 14, which of course we know is almost gone. So it's a very late decision, and certainly an important one for the future of the bioenergy industry.
We've also recently learned that the World Trade Organization is against the U.S. in some of its meat labeling rules, meaning
That's
what?
right. Well, as if producers didn't have enough to think about with farm program decisions and environmental regulations and other regulatory issues, you have to pay attention in the trade arena as well. And this has been a long time coming. We've known that Canada and Mexico long ago complained about the U.S. country of origin labeling rules, specifically the labeling rules as they affected the meat industry and the livestock sectors in those countries. Canada and Mexico complained to the WTO. WTO issued a ruling. They let word leak that the ruling was final here earlier this year, but they didn't publish the official language of it. That just came out. And in fact, it's a sort of a mixed decision that the U.S. and other countries do have a right to require labels that convey information to consumers, but they don't have a right to make the requirements burdensome in a way that harms foreign sourced product more than it does domestic products. So the argument essentially is the current regulations don't work and are not compliant. Whether we can revise those in such a way that is compliant is one of the questions going ahead.
We've covered a lot of ground here. You'll be covering these topics and more at a series of Cornhusker Economic Outlook meetings in mid-November. Tell me why you think it'd be valuable for a producer to attend.
Well, this is an opportunity for producers to come to a meeting in their region that gets you this entire economic picture, just in time to do some of that important financial planning and strategic planning for your operation moving into 2015. We'll have crop outlook, we'll have livestock outlook, policy outlook, and financial outlook, four important topics to help producers plan for the year ahead.
The Cornhusker Economics Outlook meetings are free to attend. They take place in 5 locations across Nebraska, November 17th in Beatrice, the 18th in Columbus, the 24th in Scottsbluff and Curtis, and November 25th in Hastings. You can contact local UNL Extension offices for more information. Next week, we'll talk about the corn and soybean portion of those meetings with UNL Extension economist Corey Walters.